Hi everyone, I'm Mara Webster with In Creative Company, and thank you so much for tuning in today. We are a year-round talk series bringing you the best creative voices across film, television, and theater. And today we are so fortunate to be joined by Amanda Collin, who is currently starring in the HBO Max series Raised by Wolves. And I wanted to start you by asking you a little bit about kind of coming into the world of Ridley Scott, because he's so synonymous with the sci-fi genre and has such a clear aesthetic within that world. Did that really help in terms of when you had the scripts, having a sense of what you were stepping into as you were preparing this character?
Yeah, I think it really helps to work with someone who just has so much experience and is so clear about what he wants. I mean, that's always a big help. And so he was able to be so specific and so clear, and he draws every scene, storyboards, and so you're just very clear about what's happening around you. Yeah. But not clear as in, I mean, the way he draws it, and then when you see it in real life, of course, it's 100 times more amazing. You're like, what? But yeah, I think it's for this project, really, I just had to get out of my own way and kind of sleepwalk into it, if that makes sense, because there's so many, I was surrounded by so many talented people. And so, I mean, the best thing for me in this place was just to shut up and go with the flow.
I also love that Ridley has kind of described how he saw the character as mother as having this great androgynous aesthetic and being a little bit like David Bowie was kind of an inspiration that he mentioned. Was that something that he shared with you up front? And if so, how did that influence the way that you were crafting her physicality, the way that she walked, the way that she held herself on screen?
Well, no, it wasn't a thing that he shared with me. And I love the fact that that was his vision, and then he still made it all seem like we came up with the stuff that we did together. Whereas really, he knows exactly what he wants from the beginning. I remember we had a discussion about the hair color. He was like, I think it should be red. And I was like, well, why would you color my hair? Even there, I should have not discussed with Ridley about my hair color. But I thought, I wanted my hair to be a natural color. And so my hair got chopped off and it was a natural color and it looked very dull. And then everyone was like, let's just try and give it like some reddish color. And it just looked amazing. And the fact that he explains that he went for a David Bowie look means that he, of course, knew that it was going to be red from the very beginning. But I just think it's such a beautiful thing, really, to make people believe that they're creating it with him. But really, we weren't.
I also want to ask you about your performance in terms of working alongside Bakr Saleem, who plays father in the show with you, because there's such an important dynamic between these two characters. They're both androids, they're both kind of created from the same space, but then throughout the show, they evolve in different ways, which I thought was really fascinating. But it's so important, particularly in those first episodes, for you to kind of be coming from the same page and have the same idea of how you're performing these parts. Was that something that the two of you worked on cohesively together at any point? Was there any opportunity to kind of rehearse a little bit and discover those performances, or was it something that you found more on set when you were filming?
Both. I think we did rehearse for 2-3 weeks, maybe, just going through the scripts with Ridley and going through every scene. And Ridley talked a lot about the cadence between us. There's like a special rhythm between people, and we had to find our rhythm. And then we talked about how Boo comes from a background of gaming, so he had lots of good references from that world. That was really helpful. And we just geeked out a lot. And luckily, we met the first time and we were just like, and that's so fortunate, because then you're able to share everything and like knock on each other's trailers and be like, can I just try this out? Like, what if I said like this? And he goes like, maybe don't do that, or, you know, yeah, let's try it, or, you know, it's always, and then it becomes a lot of fun and you just try stuff out, and it's so important with actors that you spend a lot of time with on set, that you have that relationship, I think, because then it just becomes a lot of fun. And when you're very scared about something, you always know that there's one set of eyes that you can look into and be like, okay, let's do this, you know? And he's like, and the other way around, like, he is really, really amazing to work with, and an incredible actor as well. And I love the way, also along the way that we had to play different types of androids. So also the way that kind of turned out was really interesting. And yeah.
Mm-hmm. And in terms of cadence and rhythm, I wanted to also ask you about the speech pattern and the way that you speak, and even down to the tone of your voice that you utilize in every single moment, and the way that you really play around with that. And was that something where you just experimented a lot of different versions, or how did you land on those specific choices? Because it brings so much to the performance.
Yeah, I have no idea where it comes from, actually. It's just so weird, that suit and everything. I just spoke like that all of a sudden. I think it came from the casting, really. Also, in castings, you're able to try stuff out because you don't have the part anyway, so you might as well just go with something. And then all of a sudden I spoke like this. And I was like, that's weird, where did that voice come from? But it's very much her. And I think maybe it also comes from having like a deep encoded need to spread empathy and love. And so when you want to do that, you naturally speak with a more soft voice, I think. And that's her programming, I think. That's her, like, none of us speak like that. Maybe some people do, but not moms of little children. They always speak like this. You know, I don't know where it comes from, really.
Yeah, that's so fascinating. And in terms of the emotional journey that this character goes on, it's such an interesting thing where you've developed so many different layers in the way that she responds to different situations, and where you kind of making choices and going through that journey of discovery in a very different way that you usually would in terms of your process working with a script and understanding the emotional response to something, because she doesn't have that regular world experience where you're thinking about how did she grow up, what was her family like, how did this influence the way that she's choosing something. It's very much kind of, how was she programmed? What are the experiences that she would have had recently? So how did that really differ and change your process as you were preparing and trying to decide what level of emotion was going to come into this character?
Well, that again was very much a collaboration between all of us. I think, first of all, there's so much that is written into the character. That is not my invention. It's just like it says on the page. There are so many layers already to play with. Then I think I should pick up my old notes, really. I think you just have to kind of work your way back. Like, oh, this is a regular kitchen scene, or this is an argument with your son. But I have no reference of what it's like to be a teenager. So I have to both understand him and I have to learn from him at the same time, to observe him, to be better at my job, sort of. And I have no emotions. So if I feel something in the moment, where does that come from? You know, and so it naturally adds so many fun layers to play with. Being an android, you know? Oh, and you have super hearing, and can I feel the sun or can't I feel the sun? Do I respond to wind? I mean, so many things that our humans do naturally that was just fun questions to raise for myself all the time.
Yeah, and because you just mentioned the super hearing, I think that's one of the tiny nuanced details that you pull into the performance so well. where there's things that you almost respond to that the audience themselves aren't necessarily hearing. So how did you kind of balance out the way that you wanted to pepper that throughout the performance and the moments where you wanted to pull that in?
Well, luckily you have a master director, so I have no responsibility of peppering or non-peppering. I just do stuff in every scene, and then other brilliant people cut it in or out. I think that's the beauty of working together on projects that are really, because you're able to let go and be free. And like if I had to plan my arc, like my arc is already planned in the script and the story is being told, blah, blah, blah. I mean, I could be worried that I was too much. You know, that was my one big worry with every director. Like, okay, we just got new scripts. I'm going to do this and I'm going to do it. It's going to be very emotional. And I'm emotional all the time. Like, please, someone tell me to stop, but no one told me to stop. And so I think you have to try the 150% first. And then until someone tells you like, let's maybe turn it down a little bit. It's always more fun to go big first, I think. At least where I'm now in my career. Maybe I'll do a movie next time where I'm like very
No, but that's what really pays off in terms of this character. And I was really interested in the way that Aaron, you know, and Ridley really created a space that allowed for that freedom of failure, because you do make such bold choices in terms of your performance. And you can really sense in watching the show that there needed to be an environment of trust and safety to be able to go to those places and try those things and see if they were going to work.
Yeah. I mean, so much. I'm so amazed by the whole production, really, like everyone working on this set, and Ridley is sort of on top of the whole thing, at least for the first 2 episodes, but also Scott Free and HBO and everyone, just like all of our bosses, they really laid out a tone of safety and appreciation and gratitude. Like there was just, I always felt the love. And so when you do that, you're free to give a lot back. And I think that's so beautiful and important, and why it's so fun to work with people that are the best of what they do, because we're all just like hanging out and playing what we love playing, you know, playing our favorite game. And yeah.
I also thought it was interesting that after filming the first 2 episodes, that it was actually kind of 2 episodes and then there was a bit of a break before resuming production on the rest of the series. Did that kind of give you a really unique opportunity to just take a little bit of time and sit with the character in a different way, in a way that you could actually look at how you'd already inhabited her, how you'd been performing her, the choices that you made, and really think about what worked, what you wanted to continue evolving in this character?
I think I was more like, look how much muscle I gained. In just 2 months, I gained this. And of course, it's always good when you have a couple of nights where you don't have to get up working, so things can kind of settle. It's always good. And you don't have many nights like that when you're one of the lead characters. And so that month in between was really nice to kind of let things settle and let's start working and get to work with the scripts and everything. And just, but I don't know if I can't remember what I did really. I was just in Denmark and it was cold and my daughter turned 2.
That value spending time with her.
Yeah.
I also want to hear a little bit about the amount of information that you had, not just about your character, but kind of the narrative arc of the series, because it sounds like Aaron was a little bit intentionally secretive and didn't necessarily want you to have the full flow of where the series was going, because his character is experiencing everything for the first time. But within that, I was curious about what were the key details that were important for you to still know, and the details that he shared with you that he knew would be a valuable asset, even if you didn't have the scripts yet.
I think every time we had a meeting, of course, Aaron was very present with a new director coming in, going through the 2 scripts that we had to do together and kind of making sure that we got what was going on in the scripts that we were supposed to do. And I think I remember from those meetings just like being like, I want to be human, right, Aaron? Like that's what I want, right? Because that's what I think I want, but if that's not what I want, you should tell me now. And he's like, yeah, you're on the right path. You're on the right path. And so I think that was my anchor through it all, sort of, to just want a human experience, or and I notice it all the time when I watch it now. Like the other day, I just noticed in a scene, father puts his hand on my shoulder, I think when I was flying or something, and he puts his hand on my shoulder, and I just look at it and I was like, oh, because yeah, I remember. Do I feel anything? Is he able to give it to me? You know, it's constantly like a drive in every scene. And I mean, if it works, it works. There's no reason to change it. And it really worked in all of the scripts.
Yeah. And in terms of the way that you move in the show, it's so interesting just watching the way that you hold yourself physically, the way that you walk around within a scene. And it sounds like the costumes actually had a huge amount to play within that, just to a degree because of the restrictive movement that takes place with them. But kind of what was that journey in just terms of again, just trying out different things and seeing what that was going to look and feel like once you were on set?
I'm 180, so I'm quite tall. And when I don't stand up straight, I look like a tired giraffe. So that was, I found out pretty quickly that I had to like stand up straight and own my height, because an android would never slouch. And so that was just mandatory to like kind of own your height, never to slouch in any scene. And so that's a lot of the physicality, really. I don't walk that straight in real life. I'm much more human, I would say. And we just added things little by little. I think many of the things look androidy because we look the way we look. Like I'm slightly pale and with those eyes and that silver suit shining. But, you know, sometimes if people have a hard time coping with stuff, they can, you know, do like this, you know, even as a human. But then when you look like that, it looks very computer-ish. So I just played around with stuff like that. Like, yeah. Oh, God, oh, he's annoying. Like, oh, I want to kill him.
I also wanted to ask a little bit about some of the choices that you played around with that maybe you kind of threw away along the way. I know that one of those was, you know, initially thinking, okay, maybe my forehead doesn't move and show expression, and realizing that it would also just be a huge challenge to do for several episodes, you know, and thinking about how much am I going to widen my eyes. And so what were some of those things that you played around with that you kind of realized, actually, this isn't feasible or this doesn't work for the character with those early... Right.
I think that was said more as a joke, but I'm also learning how to say things in interviews, and people always take them literally. Obviously, I am human. And so when I do like this, there's no way that I can control what's going on in my face. And there's no way that I can control not to do this, because I'm an actor and I'm going to react to whatever's given to me. So, but that being said, there was, of course, the initial thought of like, I must be perfect, you know, because I'm a creation. But again, not my responsibility if they want me to be something. I mean, so not my problem, really. And yeah, we did talk about, from being born, so to speak, and onwards, how how much have you learned? Like, how much are you able to cry? Are you able not to cry? And that was just from situation to situation, a thing to be aware of, like, how should I react in this situation? Like a human, I would maybe know or have tendencies to go to choices that I know would work for that situation. But it was just really funny to be like, okay, another kid has died. What now? But in a way, it's also very human to be like, just numb because I can't believe this is happening. And she has the same thoughts, I guess. And then she just breaks down.
Yeah, in terms of the kids, I mean, their performances are so remarkable, which is a testament to them, but also in, I think, the way that you and Abu Bakr work with them as well, so cohesively. And so kind of how did you set about creating that dynamic, and how did you work with them as scene partners possibly differently to the way that you would work with Abu as a scene partner and figuring out the details of it?
I think Kate Rhodes James did such an amazing job in just finding my new family, because every time a new person came to set, everyone was just like, have you met? I mean, isn't she? I know. And so we all really like each other, and that obviously helps a lot. And so the dynamics between us is very much that, like, everyone is very supportive of each other and rooting, and it's just a really good vibe between us. So when you have that, also creates, safety and freedom for people to do their thing. And I think that's it's very invaluable and very beautiful. And I have thanked Kate and Aaron and Ridley and everyone who chose us to be in the same room so many times.
Yeah, well, it's such a wonderful cast, and it's such a delight watching your performance in the show. And I want to thank you so much for taking time today to talk to us about it. And I hope that everyone watching this, if they haven't already, will dive into the show on HBO Max.
Yay, me too.